Welcome, everyone. You are listening to the Takeaways Podcast, Episode 7. This limited series is a special look into my new book, Takeaways, Secret Truths from Leading a Startup. This podcast is for entrepreneurs and other business owners anywhere who need some quick direction anytime they find themselves at a difficult crossroads. It's exactly what I needed when I was facing difficult daily decisions in the early weeks and months of my startup Looped. I'm your host, Brian Friedman, and I'm currently the VP of Digital Innovation at Aventury. And previously, I was a CEO and founder of Looped in Silicon Valley and then San Francisco. Today, I'm going to share with you how to be a gambler. So, let's get started. Startups and poker have more than a little in common. To win in both, you need to get comfortable taking risks every day. The highs and lows of startup life are a given, but how you handle those fluctuations determines whether you will succeed. By developing a stoic game face, you can learn to survive the lows and maximize the highs. You can calculate risk at every step and hone your ability to filter out the throwaway ideas, so you can act on the unicorns that occasionally come your way. People respond to risk in different ways. And while some are motivated by the thrill of the unknown, others are paralyzed by the fear of failure. For the conservative types who calculate every downside, startups can be a recipe for disaster. Failure in some form is inevitable, in small ways like late product deliverables, or in big ways like bankruptcy. The danger for the risk-averse is disqualifying themselves from the game if they experience failure in any form. For other people, startups are a great place to pursue their upside and exercise their aggressive thinking. These individuals have the ability to view failure as a necessary cost of doing business, an unexpected detour on the road to winning. The danger for these people is their tendency to count their proverbial chickens before they hatch. They can wrongly think they've already won the game before the hand was ever called. Part of entrepreneurship is understanding your own risk tolerance and behavior. The best path is neither end of the spectrum, but instead a healthy balance between conservative and overly aggressive. With this perspective, you don't run away from every risky idea that arises, but you don't swing for the fences every time either. When launching a startup, you must think about the downside and the upside. Startups are a form of gambling, where you are betting all of your money, other people's money, known as OPM, your time, other people's time, and your reputation. Like poker, playing the game is part science and part art. Sometimes you're betting on a hunch and trusting your instincts, while other times you're acting on experience and observation. The best startup ideas blend instinct and experience. For me, the concept of Looped came from observing how antisocial and disingenuous my college friends and I became in a social setting. At parties or bars, we descended to smartphone dependence instead of face-to-face conversations. We preferred to text, Facebook message, or Snapchat later instead of engaging now. The choice seemed so binary. I knew there had to be a better way. I had a hunch that a fun, unobtrusive digital wearable could make these interactions easier and more beneficial. Instead of technology being a hindrance to true friendship, I believed a wearable device like a badge or a bracelet could actually enhance connection. Sure, this was a gamble that would take time and exposure to gain adoption, but the hunch was proven true. Beyond betting on a concept, when you launch a startup, you are also playing the game of raising funds, and the hand can be dealt in endless ways. If you raise money from angels, venture capitalists, investment banks, or through crowdfunding, you are exchanging equity and control for the hope of a positive outcome, such as an exit, employee buyout, or an IPO. If your startup grows slower than expected, you might have to raise more money in exchange for more control. Or, if your startup fails to grow at all, you might face an investor takeover, fire sale, or even bankruptcy. Business is a risk at every turn. You risk your reputation, your relationships, and the well-being of yourself and those who rely on you. While winning is always the goal, sometimes losing well is the only course of action. By surrounding yourself with wise advisors, strong allies, and honest feedback, you can place the best bets and manage the risks to navigate the waters of startups with the fewest casualties. Although cliche, the truth of some country music is hard to deny. Every time I hear the Kenny Rogers hit The Gambler, I can't help but think to myself about how it resonates and how it so accurately describes the risks and realities of startup life. And here is The Gambler. On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with the gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns a staring out the window at the darkness. The boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, "Son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what the cards were. By the way, they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice." So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, "If you're going to play the game, boy, you got to learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be enough time for counting when the dealing's done." Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep. Because every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out a cigarette, and faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even, and in his final words, "I found an ace that I could keep." You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
And that's the show. Thanks for listening to the Takeaways podcast, which is produced every Tuesday for your enjoyment, and show notes can always be found on my blog on Medium at Own It. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed. You can also follow me on Instagram, and you can sign up for more info on my new book at takeawaysbook.com. All of the links are going to be in the show notes, and until next time, keep following your dreams and own it.